saying, like, if you're on stage and you have equipment problems. Who was it? Civ?
Civ, yeah.
Civ.
Yeah.
The canned lines for when there's equipment problems. What we could do.
Oh, we've been caught talking about Civ.
Uh-oh.
Hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. It's Friday night again. Episode 85. What you're listening to. It's going to be a good show. We're one man down at the moment. I'm sure he's going to be here soon.
He'll be here. He will be.
He'll be here.
Yeah, he's replying to my text.
All right. Let me do the housekeeping while we stall. We stall for time a little bit. As usual, if you want to, don't forget to like and subscribe. Always helpful.
But whatever you do, don't say those words on Facebook because the bots will think you're spamming.
They will.
And they'll stop you.
They will.
They'll take your posts down, man. It's serious business.
Yes. I learned my lesson. All right. Man, 1 week goes by really quickly. I've listened to a lot of records this week. I've been on vacation, so...
Yeah, you're on your hiatus.
I wouldn't call it that.
Your 3-week hiatus.
But I've been very good. I haven't got any extras or bonuses or alternates. I've got a nice clean 5, as I think you guys have too.
Shit, you guys are flying without nets. I feel like a dork. My 2 alternates this time.
All right. Good to see you again, Bill. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. It's always a blast.
Thank you. Dan, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Benny will be here.
He will. Will be here. He will be here.
Let me send him the link real quick again.
You guys, anyone drinking tonight? Any drinking going on?
I've got some leftover. Was at my parents' house for St. Patrick's Day, and my dad had some extra Murphys, so I'm just being the big old stereotype and drinking a Murphys.
Nice. Cool. Nice.
Therefore, all of my picks, it will be only Dropkick Murphys records, all from Boston. Only Dropkick Murphys records from the last 10 years. The good shit.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Got a dissertation level on all of them.
All right. Regular viewers know the score. We each got 5 records. We're going to have a good time talking about our 5 picks. We'll do one at a time and go around. And let's have a good time talking about some good records. Let's know it out. If you're in the chat, join in. Correct us. Give us some advice. If we don't know something, let us know. Audience participation is very important on this show. All right, so let me kick off. I'm going to go in with my first pick. Cheers, everyone. I was going to do like no build up to this one. I used to do like a little build up as I to show. I wasn't going to do it for this one, but I am going to do one. Let me take you back to like late 80s UK. This isn't a new record. This is it's like oversimplifying things quite a bit, but like back in the late 80s in England, we had kind of like the noisy stuff, Extreme Noise Terror, earache bands, Peaceville, grindcore, all that kind of stuff. We had all that going on. And we also had like very melodic stuff too, like Leatherface, Snuff, Mega City 4, HDQ, all these other kind of more melodic bands. I liked both of those kinds of music. I liked both. And often they will play together too, so it wasn't like a divided thing at all. But there was this kind of other kind of scene going on, which I kind of tried to get into. Looks like Benny's here.
About that.
Hey, Benny.
Hey. Just in time. I'm just talking about late 80s UK, Benny. before I go into my first pick. Yeah. So, like I said, we had like Napalm Death and Extreme Noise Terror and all those bands, and then we had like Snuff and Mega City 4, Leatherface, blah 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 blah. And then we had this other scene that I tried to get into at the time, and I just couldn't get into it. It's bands like Red Letter Day and Guitar Gangsters, The Price, The Sect. A lot of this stuff was on like Link Records. It was kind of like going back a little bit into like 77 punk. Like in 1989, 1990, 77 style punk was really like not in vogue at all, right? It seemed like a very kind of old music to be playing. And I tried to get into some of this stuff and really couldn't get into it. Red Letter Day and Refn from Wales, one of the good bands from around that time. But yeah, like I said, at the time, couldn't get into it. But there's one record from this era, one LP actually, to be precise, which I want to say and introduce. It's like an all-time like classic from this era, and it kind of got reissued 2 years ago on Puke and Vomit. Not Punk and Vomit, as Jordan would say. Puke and Vomit. reissued this, and I'm glad it got reissued. I don't think it's a super hard record to find. It came out on Link Records originally. Link is like, I think it's Mark Brennan from the Businesses label. Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm in search of the crack. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of cartoonish cover, which I probably didn't like either at the time. Man, honestly, like, this is kind of like the perfect mix of like 77 punk, like oi, and kind of like glam rock, like all mixed together with like every song's a fucking hit. The singer sounds a little bit like Noddy Holder from Slade.
Okay.
A little bit. And it's like, I've seen it written that like if this band were like a little bit later and they were a little bit more melodic, they could have been kind of quite a big, like a sort of like C tier, like Brit pop band. Fortunately, they didn't do that. So, yeah, but like, I know, man, I don't know what the audience was for this stuff like in 89, 90, but man, it sounds so good to me like now in 2022. It's kind of unbelievable how good all these songs are. You know?
I always thought they were older. Because I remember someone I knew made me like a best of Oi mix CD when I was in high school, and they were on it. It was like all the big classics and all that shit. I didn't realize I always assumed they were from like 82, 84 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were of that age, but I'm not sure how long they were like playing in bands and stuff. But yeah, this is their first LP. Steve Jones on guitar, like not that Steve Jones.
I was gonna say, wait a minute, he got around.
Another Steve Jones, but man, the first song, like My World, is just, oh man, I just go out and listen to it. Like after this show, it's incredible, like super catchy, anthemic, oi. But it's not oi though. It's like it's just this like, it's almost like glam rock, melodic punk, oi, kind of like rolled into one. And it's not kind of like Mega City 4 or Leatherface. It's completely different. But so if you're like into like sort of more melodic side of punk, man, check out the crack.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I know I heard that when I got that CD like 20 years ago, but I don't think I've heard them since. I'll have to give it another shot.
So do you think they took inspiration from a lot of the Oi Gary Bushell covers with that artwork?
I think so. I think so.
Been I don't. 8-9 years before that release.
I think so. I think that's what they're doing. They're going for that. I don't know if any of you guys know the comic Viz. It's a comic called Viz. It's like a UK comic.
V-I-Z?
Yeah, no, it's like a mainstream comic with like kind of like sarcastic humor and stuff. He's got like a rolled up copy of the Viz.
Oh, okay. Like the British Jughead or something.
You know, and they're not skinheads. They're not punks. Yeah. They're kind of like almost like kind of football hooligans kind of thing. You know?
Suede heads, maybe.
Yeah, and then, check out the name of the pub, man. The Ill Eagle. The Ill Eagle.
There's got to be like an inside joke or a reference there.
Gambling
going on, amongst the band.
Oi with a sense of humor.
Yes, kind of made me laugh. But man, honestly, it doesn't sound that appealing. That era, this cover, the record label. But man, it'll surprise you like how great this is. There's one song on side too. Don't You Ever Let Me Down. Kind of sounds a bit like Mega City 4. Super catchy, melodic.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely have to give that another shot. I do not remember at all what it sounded like.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't like this stuff at all. Like at the time, and I kind of get it now, but like at the time, I didn't have any use for it.
As an older fella,
as an older fella, I can.
I'm sorry, as an older geezer.
That's it. I can totally see myself at the illegal with a pint of lager and yeah, that's my first pick. I never ever thought I'd be talking about the crack like on the internet in 1989. Here I am. Oh, by the way, maybe nobody knows what the crack is. It's not crack. It means like
conversation.
A crack is like a good. No, it's a good time. Like I laugh. So it's like in search of the crack is like a good time, a good laugh. So in search of a good time. Sure. Could be crack cocaine as well, I suppose. But,
that could lead to some conversation, but it would probably be mostly
it was 89, it was the height of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it reached over there by then as well.
I think so, yeah. All right. Bill, what's your first pick? Give it to us.
My first pick is another English band that for the first probably year that I knew who they were, I thought they were German. Because if you're into all the stuff that like that Mangle record label puts out, like Liek and Pigeon, and I think Go Lamborghini Go, like stuff like that. So it's like super wiry, like nervous, twitchy post-punk. But they're from England. I thought they were German. I could have sworn they were German. They just sound German to me. But it's the newest LP from Beige Banquet. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this.
No.
Beige Banquet. Yeah, so it's a pain in the ass because the name is on the wrong weird side. So it's a Swish Swash Records, and then it got an American release on Future Shock out of Cincinnati. It's super like nervous, thick sounding post-punk, but it's upbeat. It's almost as if they kind of based their whole band around Uncontrollable Urge, the song, and the pace of it. There are different levels to it, but a lot of it is that kind of pace. So like the first time I heard this, I related it. It's just like summertime post-punk, most post-punk, you want to just draw the shades and, go in the dark. That makes you want to drive fast. So it's the type of thing where like the choruses of a couple of the songs are just the song titles repeated ad nauseum. So like this song, Parasitic Energy, the guy's just saying parasitic energy, parasitic energy, parasitic. Like you can imagine him singing and playing like that type of move, just like super twitchy. But then there is a little bit of difference to it. Like there's some variety in the songwriting and all that. It sounds thick as hell. Like I could see like people who are really into egg punk being into this, but it sounds good. Like, a lot of egg punk just kind of intentionally sounds like shit, It's not that at all. Like you can tell they took their time with this. And one of the things when I was listening to it for this, there's like cool little percussion tricks on it that I didn't realize for the first 5 months of listening to it. Like there's little bits where it's like one kind of sounds like a cowbell and then some sounds like a detuned floor tom or something. Like they add in little bits really low in the mix. So like it does help with repeat listens. You just find the weird little shit that you didn't notice before. I'm really into it. Like it's very upbeat. Like there's one kind of instrumental song that's mostly just kind of keyboard nonsense near the end. But other than that, this is one of my favorite records to come out this year.
Wow.
So it's going to be on the list. This is a 2024 one. If you're into any of that German stuff, or if you're like into post-punk, but like post-punk that you want to drive with your windows down on, like it's a good record to listen to when it's nice and sunny out, which you don't associate with post-punk, but it does. Yeah, like the big hits are Collapse Crisis. That's another one where the chorus is just the guy twitching out saying Collapse Crisis. Collapse, like it burrows itself into your head, and highly recommended. Yeah, so it's a couple mysterious looking guys back there on the back, couple of mustaches. Yeah, no, it's highly recommended. For years I thought for like 3 years, I thought these guys were German, but they're not. They're from London.
Well, there you go.
Hopefully we can make it to the States sometime. Like, I would love to see these guys. Like, it just gives off the impression that they're just like tight as hell, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because to kind of play that type of music where it's intricate, but it's not, you know, like noodly, you know, it's not just like, you know, some Dragon Force or like prog rock shit, but you can tell they put time into it. So it's highly recommended. Beige Banquet.
Beige Banquet. Wow. Yeah, that's a new one.
It's a really dumb name, but like it sounds like the most boring band name possible. But I don't know if that was an intentional thing, but like, you know, usually you don't call something beige as a compliment. But
true.
Yeah, it's like came out in, I think I got the record in June or May or something. It was delayed for a while. I remember I had to actually email the label because it said it was shipping out in February and still hadn't showed up by June. But pressing plans and all that shit. I wasn't an asshole about it, I promise. It's just like, hey, you guys having pressing problems? And like, yeah.
The name might be like a nod back to like 70s, 60s and 70s, like British food. When you went to a party, there was a lot of like grey and like beige food on the table, you know, not much green. It could be a nod to that. Could be.
Oh, England is famous for their cuisine.
Be careful. Nice.
Yeah, I really,
check it out.
Otherwise, we'll have a crack.
All right, nice. Dan, what's your first?
All right. Well, I don't have a band from the UK, but they did live in the UK briefly between starting in Denver and moving to San Francisco. They're an SST band. You may know them from the Not So Quiet on the Western Front comp with their Worker Bee song. So my first pick is Mending Wall by Oxt, which this is my second time around owning this record. I bought it when I was in my early 20s and did not figure it out.
Had to grow on you.
Unfortunately, from that time till now, the cost of the record, the decimal place moved over one. So it went from a $3 record to a $30 record.
Right.
That's still not bad. I mean, nowadays $30 is pretty cheap. It's still a good price.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel so old though, because I'm just like all those SST, like half the SST catalog was available for $5 or less for the last 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now none of it's available for like under $30 unless you want 90s Gim solo records.
Are you implying you don't? Come on, Dan.
I suppose those are, well, again, by name, those are Cruise records, but same difference.
I remember one of the times I saw the Ergs, the guy was wearing a shirt for Greg Ginn, the Dick album or something. I'm like, oh, so like that always stuck in my head. It's like, oh shit, someone actually liked this enough to not only buy the record, but buy the shirt. Seemed like a weird one.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I'd maybe wear it even if I got it for free, maybe.
Someone just tosses it at you while you're on tour. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll put this on. Were the Angst guys in other bands? I feel like I know that name, but I don't know much about.
No, not really.
Bands. So they were just kind of a one and done mostly?
At
least for like just one band and then...
Yeah, but because they started in 79. They put out, let's see here, they have 4 different LPs on SST in 85 to 88, one a year.
Jesus.
Plus, before that, they had a 12-inch EP on Happy Squid, the Urinals label. And they kind of started out as like real, like quirky, like Minutemen kind of speedy punk, and then it's got less punk, a little more like college rocky, and then added kind of a little bit of a country twang later on. But it was never like Uncle Tupelo or anything like that.
Yeah,
not that much country, but a little bit. But the opening track, probably no one's gonna be able to see anything because it's all tiny letters. It's some things I can't get used to. You hear it, and first thing I thought it was like, this sounds like the Pixies, which in interviews Frank Black has been quoted as saying that Angst was a huge influence.
Oh, weird.
Okay.
And then a little more digging, and you realize that Frank Black and the Catholics covered that song.
What song is that? What song is that? I'm sorry.
Some Things I Can't Get Used To.
Okay.
I think it might be on like a CD single or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I listened to that version, and it sounds like it should be one of their songs.
Oh.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I can credit the buying this again. It has a lot to do with the You Don't Know Mojack podcast. It's those guys got me digging way deeper than I all of a sudden.
Is that the podcast that does like an in-depth dive into like one SST like record in each episode? Okay.
Yeah. I never thought I'd be doing a deep dive on Paper Bag, but I did, and it's I love it. I mean, that and like Bazooka, like those weird late SST like jazz stuff. As long as it doesn't involve Greg Ginn, it's good.
It's still all right.
It's a very intimidating catalog when you look at it. It's like, Jesus,
Yeah.
Where do I start with this?
Did you read that book that came out a couple years ago about SST? I think it was just called Corporate Rock Sucks.
Yeah, it's funny. I was in. I finished that book. I was in Venice. And the next night, I went down to Pedro to see Saccharine Trust.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, I wish they were better than they were, but it was just very quiet. And it just, I don't know. Jack Brewer is still an amazing frontman, still riveting. But yeah, they were just too quiet and didn't have the energy. But I don't know. It was still cool to see them in their hometown.
Is that the first Angst record? The first LP, right?
No, that is the second LP, third 12-inch.
Okay.
So they have two more LPs after.
And that's the best one. That's the one that we should get.
I think so. Yeah. Right. I think it's the sweet spot where it's still kind of punky, but it's super melodic, little bit of twang, and just catchy all the way through.
Cool.
Nice. That's a great pick. Kind of makes me want to check out that late era. I think I'm ready for it now. I'm ready for a lot of things now that I wasn't ready for. Nice. All right, Benny. Thanks for coming on. Cheers.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Happy Friday.
Cheers. Happy Saturday morning for some people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Cheers. All right, Benny. What's your first pick, man? What's your first pick?
How late is it over there?
Or early, you should say. It's
early.
11:25 on a Saturday morning. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm used to it by now. This is my Saturday morning.
All righty. So I'm doing probably one everybody knows by now, but kind of a dark classic, Escorbuto, Antitodo.
Nice.
From Spain, early 80s. I think this would have been like 83 or something like that, 82. But this one kind of sticks out to me because it's a very, in my opinion, a very dark record. And then there's some strange timings on drumming where it's kind of like they'll go into like a disco beat, They have a song, 2 songs are just straight up disco beats. Kind of reminds me of what the Effigies from Chicago were doing on that Security song. Super similar. And obviously, pre-internet era, how 2 bands at the same time are messing with hardcore punk and mixing in like these pretty cool disco beats, you know. Worlds apart at that time. Probably I've never even heard each other's bands. But lyrically, and it's a lot more. I feel like the rhythm section, the bass and drum, are very like prominent and upfront versus still very good classic 7 inches by Scorbuto, like Mucha Policía, Poca Diversión. The classics, you know, are you know, very fast, very angry, hard punk. There's this sort of like more mid-tempo, and I've read in a book about, because these guys are Basque, but I read in a book from the Barcelona scene that a lot of Spanish punks, when MDC went over there and the U.S. hardcore invasion hit Spain, were kind of like, no, we don't want to be Yankees. We want to still play just punk, you know, and still aggressive, but without necessarily going super fast, you know, like hardcore was going at that time. And I think Escorbuto is one of those bands where this sounds heavy, angry, but it's not super fast at all. And lyrically too, it's a very dark record where, you know, it's just the album name is Anti Todo, which means anti everything. And I think at this point they already had flirted with super left Basque separatist, and they were just kind of on their own, just probably starting the drug addiction phase and just completely nihilistic, dark, and depressed. And that's all over the record, I think, not just sonically, but lyrically. I mean, there's a really creepy song on here about somebody being molested as a kid by a woman, and then he winds up killing her, which is a kind of a shitty, fucked up song, you know, but it's just kind of shows where these guys were at that time, fueled by, you know, like political repression, where Spain was just barely coming out of the whole Franco thing, drugs, you know, that mid-20s, you think you're fully grown up, but you're not, kind of angst. So to me, this record really hits, and yeah, hopefully you guys will want to have a listen to this.
I know that's like considered their classic LP, right? That one.
Yeah.
I have a little bit later one. It's a double LP. I think it's like, I forget what it's called. I think I showed it on this show, and I do like that record, but I've been really itching to. That's the one I want to hear, and I want to go hold of. It's that one. Yeah.
And I got very lucky with this. I picked this up probably like in 2001. I did a trade. I got really into like Spanish stuff from Spain at that time, and I traded all my Crudos records for a couple of gems, and this is one.
Nice.
Figuring, you know, I later regretted it, but fortunately I've been able to pick some of them back up, but not all of them. But then
you still replaceable yet?
Then the Crudos discography came out. No, once I got the discography, I'm good. I'm not.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah.
I'm the same.
Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I didn't want to stress Benny out because it was coming, but like you got to reverse unmirror the camera, Benny. It's
got it. Yep.
So just go into the cogwheel. You can see underneath. So cogwheel, then go into video, and then just click.
Yep. I see it.
Yeah.
Video.
Yeah, and then like there's a little button at the bottom that says like mirror, camera, or unmirror.
There you go.
There we go. Nice.
All right, here we go.
Nice. Beautiful.
We're set.
There it is, in its full glory. There it is. Beautiful.
Hold on.
Nice.
See the back of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've actually heard that one. I know I have a reissue of the Mucha Policía record. That's the only one of the like actual record I think I own, but I can't remember which other ones I've actually heard.
Which is very good. Then later era, there's the Schizophrenia, and that one is, I like it, but a lot of people don't because they started messing around with these Flock of Seagulls drums, the electronic pads, and it sounds really weird. And they re-recorded Mucha Policía, Poca Diversión, and it just sounds bizarre. It grew on me. I'm I'm partial to it. This is the first Escorbuto record I ever heard in
That's
the
the
90s.
first I heard.
Yeah,
That's the
It's
first one I
like
heard.
green, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
super just like those flock of seagull drums, like, like
Is it like that oppressed record where the drums just are the fucking worst, but you're like, okay, yeah, these songs are cool. Like,
well, I mean, he was such a good drummer. It just sounds silly, but it doesn't sound bad because he was such a Paco was such a good drummer. It's like, but they weren't necessarily trying to do a synth punk thing. It just sounds really bizarre.
That's a tough line to thread. Silly but not dumb.
Yeah,
it's a very tight, razor thin walk.
Weren't they kind of like quite a big band, and so maybe they were kind of in a swanky studio and they're like, hey guys, we've got this new like technology, why don't you use this? It could be something like that, right?
Probably. I
have in the studio.
It was the late 80s, 80, 88, right. 89 when they recorded that, probably trying to sound different. And they were always trying to separate themselves from the rest of the punks, and I think sometimes you kind of shoot yourself in the foot when you're trying to reinvent the wheel, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Nice. That's a great pick. What a great band.
Yeah, I gotta get more on them. I mean, one of those holes that like every time they come out, it's like, oh shit, I really need to get on it. But I think I really only heard like two records.
So I've heard multiple albums, but I definitely have not heard that one.
Yeah. Nice. See, that's reason for the show.
Exactly. That's why we do this. Okay, I'm going to switch my order around a little bit because Benny did mention that, like, sort of punk that is kind of not hardcore, but it's kind of teetering on hardcore, but it's definitely like kind of punk. I have a new record actually. It's out of Chicago. Just came out this year. Okay, I bought this band's first record when it came out like a few years ago, and I didn't like it when it came out, and I sold it, but I still bought the new one. Go figure. But I it happens, right? But I love this new one, so I'm like, I got to go back and get the old one now. But I haven't had time to listen to the old one to compare if I was like wrong about the first one or not, if they're like that different to each other. But I think this second record is fucking amazing, out of Chicago. Any guesses? Big band. Key members.
Is it going to be Fuerza Bruta or Lost Legion?
Oh, not quite. So.
Oh yeah.
Irreal. Okay.
I was like so surprised when I put this on because I was like, "Is this the same band like whose record, like first LP that I got rid of, like, whenever it came out?" I don't know. It's like it just hit me straight away. Like it's like punk, but it's just like that perfect like blend of like punk, but it's kind of dark as well. It's a little bit gray, like the old Chicago sound, but it's like got that hardcore. It's got the energy and anger of hardcore, but it isn't hardcore. Old Chicago punk, and then a bit of like post-punk. Man, it just all works like so well together. Like
there's so many effects on Scott's guitar on that where you're just like, how, like what weird ass combination of thrifted pedals comes up with that. I'm not a gearhead at all or whatever, but I know when someone knows what they're talking about, and he makes it work.
That's a really good guitar. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a great guitar sound. The drums sound a little interesting. Let's say like they're kind of a little bit low in the mix. It's not quite Flock of Seagulls, but like that's a kind of very unique sound. Jonah Falco from Fucked Up like mixed this, so I don't know how much of a hand he had in like.
I didn't realize he was.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was his idea or not. I don't know, but also like Martin, man, it's been bothering me like all week. This really reminds me of something, but I just can't like put my finger on what it is. Like Martin's vocals on this really remind me of like something else, but I really I can't think what it is. Maybe it's like the effigies, like old Chicago punk. I don't know, but just it's such a cool record. Like the energy and anger of like hardcore, but it's not hardcore. It's like, but it's not I feel like reviews that I've seen of this before really were like, oh, this is like Martin's like post-punk project and this, that, and the other. And it really isn't that, you know,
No.
right?
That's also my biggest complaint with, and maybe it's not their fault, but I personally don't see anything post-punk about that band. It's just a dark punk band, yes. But there's absolutely zero post-punk in there. But it's just the reviews are getting lazy where you put in a chorus pedal or you sound a little different, you tune different, and it's post-punk. There's a shit post-punk about it. And I love post-punk music, by the way. But
me too. But I'm like, no, this ain't post-punk.
We can see your Bauhaus shirt, Ben.
Well, that's technically goth, Bill, but you know what I mean.
Especially like when the first record came out, immediately it's like, oh, Martin has this like post-punk band, blah, blah, blah. It ain't like, it's not post-punk at all. It does remind me of like old Chicago punk. It's got that kind of grey, like gloomy feel.
Yeah. I think maybe vocally, what maybe to me, I kind of see is like some maybe like some articles of faith. Like Vic Bondi's.
That's it. That's exactly what I've been trying to think of.
Of course, Martin would be very informed of that. So that's what it kind of reminds me of, and I think the drumming, just full disclosure, all those guys are really close friends of mine. Bill's too. Gordo, the drummer, he's a drummer in Sinorden. So for him to play this type of punk, he really had to step out of his element. He's just used to playing a million miles an hour super fast, and he's doing really different stuff now.
This blew me away, honestly. It's fucking amazing. I'm just crying into my beer that I sold the first album. Is it that much different?
It is better than the first one. I like it more than the first one.
Okay. I wasn't totally wrong, but I
like that that song on there, I Failed. I remember they played, I forget what show it was. I don't remember if it was at the library or maybe it was at the orphanage, but they were talking about like, we have this new song, and then they went into that riff, and then went in. It's like, oh fuck, that's like it's one of those ones when you hear it once, it's
and
just
you already know it kind of thing.
It's just burrowed in. It's like, oh shit, that sounds like it could have been a weird like Camera Solen song, which not accepting like that. I love that song. That's an amazing song.
Wait, did you say they played at an orphanage?
No. That's what the venue's called. But they did play a real library where it's a public library with, they went in one of the rooms. There's a couple of punk librarians in Chicago, and they've been using the community rooms to host shows. They're a lot of fun.
I love. We played it once, and it was just so much fun. And technically, we became city employees because we got part of the $50 stipend. I just got paid to hang out in a library for 5 hours. This rules.
Yeah.
And they're usually
we took home some overstocked books too. It was the greatest day.
And they're usually afternoon shows too, right?
Yeah.
So they're done by 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and a lot of young kids come in too. It's a lot of fun.
It's tons of fun. I love them.
So guys, so is this basically Martin with all the members of Sinorden in the band?
No.
Okay.
Two members of Sinorden.
Okay.
So the bass player and the drummer of Sinorden, and Scott, who's a transplant of St. Louis, but he's been in Chicago now for so long.
Yeah, he's lived here for like
Scott's also been in a bunch of bands.
Is it Scott Holder?
No, Scott Plant.
Okay, sorry. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
He was the guy behind like Broken Prayer, and Droid's Blood. And he was in a long time ago. Well, a long time ago to me, but not for you guys as the older gentleman. Civic Progress.
Yeah, out of St. Louis. Yeah.
So that's my next pick. That's my second pick. Canal, Irreal, Someone Else's Dance on a Beach Impediment record. It's out there. And if you're an idiot like me and didn't like the first record, don't sleep on this one. Don't miss out on this one because it's great.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah,
someone sent me a copy of the first record.
I'm like you, Mike. I wasn't sold on that first one.
Oh, really?
At all. I hope they don't see this. They're gonna be so mad at me. But
my memory of it was as being like it was a little low on energy. I don't know. I've got to go back and listen to it again to make sure. But this one is certainly not lacking in energy. It's fucking full of energy. So there you go. That's my second.
Excuse me. All right, second one for me. It's going to play into the term coined on the show. Was it Sarah Ratchek that coined Sunday Night Punk? Or was that you, Mike? It was you? I thought it was a Sarah thing. I'm sorry.
It's basically meaningless. It basically means new wave.
No, okay, not in this case. Not in this case, I promise. So it's a new record from a very old band that's never in a million years, like I just did not have them pegged as a band that would come back with 2 amazing records to end out a career. It's Smokin' Fiction from X, new one that came out a month ago, I think. It is so fucking good. Like their this and Alphabet Land, like Alphabet Land, you know, had 3 old songs that they re-recorded. So, you know, that's 30% of the album of old songs, but the 7 new ones were bangers. And this one, as far as I know, all fresh new songs, 10 songs in 28 minutes. Doesn't waste a second. Depending on what version you buy, it's got different color sleeves for the like die cut out front.
That's sexy.
It's really slick. This the second song in here, "Sweet Till the Bitter End," I've had stuck in my head for the last month since I picked up the record. It's one of those ones where it like starts off with kind of a Billy Zoom like like just goes immediately into a classic riff, and then John and Exene trade off lines. Like they don't even do like a full line in the verse. They trade off on each half. So it's like a super complicated singing arrangement. And then there's a chorus stuck in your head. It's the song title, "Sweet Till the Bitter End," just repeated a bunch, but it just burrows in there. Then there's a little Billy riff. And then underneath it, you get this like just amazing like John Doe bass line underneath it all. It just has the whole fucking package. Like the whole album is like this. I love it. Like it's not them trying to sound like they're 20 years old or whatever, but they're still kind of writing the same type of songs, but realizing they're all almost 70. So like it's not super fast, but it's upbeat. It's not slowed down, you know? I'm astounded. Like I love this. Like I was not expecting Alphabet Land to be as good as it was. I was not expecting this to be as good as it was. And again, like, yeah, it's just real cool with the die cut sleeves. I like the different versions. Like this is the blue version, so it's got the blue sleeve that matches up. There's I think these are all drawings in the lyrics by Exene.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good. Like honestly, if you were ever, I don't want to do the like, oh, it could have come out between whatever, but it could have. This could have been a really good follow up to More Fun in the New World.
Okay.
Like I'm really kind of bummed that I missed them the last time they came through town. We were out at a family party and just couldn't make it work.
It was really good.
They were still on it.
They played a free street festival about a month ago, and it was insane. Like young punks were there, like literally like punk kids in their teens and early 20s, and then a lot of older heads. But they were tight. I mean, even the old songs. I'm always scared when bands do their old stuff because it's not as good, you know. It was tight. I mean, you know, Billy was sitting on a chair. He's so much, you know, he looks frail. That guitar, he was punishing it. Honestly, they sounded really, really good. And I haven't bought that record, but when they announced that this is off the new record, and I'm like, shit, this is really, really good.
Yeah. Like there's not a wasted second on this. Like the title track, "Smokin' Fiction," is another kind of more upbeat one that has also been stuck in my head for the last month. I think the like first single they put out from it is called "Big Black X." Little bit on the nose for a song title there, but that's another one. Like just everything on here is a hit. Like I'm not a poet or whatever. You know, my lyrics are fucking stupid and I hate writing them, but there's a lot of really good lines on this. Like there's one actually in the title track in "Smoker Fiction" where Exene is saying like, what's the exact line? I'm going to fuck it up. And I also can't read her handwriting. I'm not going to quote it because I know I'm going to fuck it up because I'm on camera, but it's like, I still pray a little bit, but there's no saint for this. I'm like, oh, that's a good turn of phrase there. Like, lapsed Catholics unite. But yeah, it's highly recommended. Like I was very excited that another one was coming out. Like I knew Alphabet Land was there. I didn't expect another one. Like the last kind of legacy band like this that I remember that put out records that were this good after that long of a layoff, like maybe Mission of Burma. Like those records they put out when they reunited were just as good as the original stuff. Like, yeah, I cannot say enough about this. Like, it's a great Sunday night punk record, if you will.
Sunday night punk.
Yeah, it's such a pretty record cover. Like that's.
I took it out of the shrink wrap because I like just kind of sliced it and like, oh, you're not going to be able to tell on the camera that it's the die cut and it's got the embossed.
Well, it's embossed as well. Right?
Yeah, it's embossed on the down here with the Smoke and Fiction. There it is.
How expensive it probably was to make that record cover.
It probably cost a fuckload. Especially too, like even having the different color sleeves. Like I've seen. I picked this up at Reckless. They had the white sleeve is the standard, like with the black vinyl.
Okay.
This is like the indie store exclusive one, but there's also a green one too. So there's like different color sleeves for every different color of vinyl. Like, wow. Put this out. Fat Possum. They did the work on this.
Wow.
I ordered my copy from Disc Union, but they didn't. They couldn't specify like which version you would receive.
You're probably getting the one with the white.
Probably it'll be a surprise. It's coming. It'll be here in a couple of weeks. Yeah,
nice. I'm excited for you to hear it. Like if you ever were into X at all, this hits the spot. I'm astounded at how good the last two albums are.
Nice.
But yeah, and it's all 10 new original songs. Like Alphabet Land ended on that weird spoken word thing that honestly I skip every time I listen to it, but this doesn't have that. So it's 10 actual songs.
Nice.
All new ones too. Yeah, I'm really bummed I missed him. I'm really bummed we had other obligations when they played that Street Fest. I would have loved to have seen him one last time. Last time I saw him was 2019. And again, Billy was even playing on the chair at that point. Did they bring out, did DJ play the...
Yep, the xylophone. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was they did I Must Not Think Bad Things on that. It was amazing.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I've held off from listening to it online. I'm waiting to get the record.
You're gonna love it. It's really fucking good. Like I'm very happy with it.
Nice. Beautiful. All right, Dan, what's your second pick?
Right. I don't have prepared like trivia for anybody on this one to guess. So I'm just gonna bust it out. End of the line.
End of the line.
Mm-hmm.
It was always described as like the ultimate Abolition full length, and then I heard it and it was just like cool, and you could tell there were some songs buried in a really bad recording. But then like 3 years ago, 31G and Gravity redid it. And you probably can't tell on the camera, but the new version is in 3D. It's all 3D. There's end of the line 3D glasses.
Nice.
That's cool.
Wow.
But it's it's a 90s hardcore record, but like it barely sounds like the 90s. Like it's got some like real like not like rip-offs, but like they have some real blast style riffs and just like it actually stands up to like what the people around at the time like hyped it up as. I mean, and they weren't a band for long. I mean, it was, I guess, built in because it was 3 of the members were in heroin as well.
Okay.
And then the singer, he ended up quitting to go move to the Bay, and then sang in. He was in John Henry West.
Okay.
And now he's in Very Paranoia with Chris Grande from Annihilation Time.
Oh. What does that sound like?
It's like rock and roll punk.
Okay.
It's real like, I don't know. I don't want to say something inaccurate, but it kind of like just like punker, like MC5 type stuff, I'd say.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
When did it originally come out? What year?
Check my notes. 93.
Okay.
That's quintessential 90s right there.
Peak 90s, absolutely.
Yeah. I was supposed to do an Abolition podcast where it was one of those where you go one by one, and I just ended up like I talked to 2 people about it, and we were going to do it, and then it just never happened. And then I started looking at the Abolition catalog as a whole a little deeper, and I realized I don't like a lot of it. I mean, if it's got Sarah Kirsch on it, that's a given. That's gonna be perfect. But I can't even think of any off the top of my head. There's some that just I don't. Early in the catalog, you hit struggle, and I'm like, yeah, the name fits. Sure, it's a struggle to listen to.
Yeah, I could see that where you don't want to do a podcast where you're just gonna be like ragging, talking shit on something. It could be funny, but at someone else's expense, it wouldn't be nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Put one here.
No shade on Abolition though, because there's a lot of classics.
Agree. Yeah, fully agree.
Some guy's like, oh, no one's asked me about my band in 35 years. Then you tune in. Fuck that. Oh, no.
Right. That would be the worst.
Oh, man. Also, I apologize. The White Sox fireworks are going off. I don't know if the audio is catching up.
Does that mean you won or lost?
It's just the Friday night. They do them whether they win or lose, but I'm assuming they lost. But I forgot they were happening tonight. But so I apologize if you hear annoying fireworks. I'm trying to mute myself.
Don't worry about it.
Jordan commenting.
I agree. It's and still going to this day as well. Abolition, right?
That's still you can get some of the cheapest prices on records through Abolition still.
Don't you have to put in like a minimum $100 order though? Isn't that there? Is that them?
I think I know they did that at some point. I don't know if they still do that. Maybe.
That would be because they're so cheap. It's actually hard to get to $100 as opposed to everywhere else now. Like, 3 LPs, I get the $75 free shipping threshold now.
20 copies of the Struggle 7-inch padding. All right, beautiful. Benny, what's your second pick?
Okay, so I'm gonna break mold a little bit just because this band, it's a full album, but it hasn't been released on LP yet. Well, first I want to start with whatever I picked today, I'm actually listening to recently. So kind of just wanted to talk about records I'm actually listening to. So this is a new release from this year, and it's a band from LA called Ugly. This is the cassette, and unfortunately no one's been smart enough to press this on vinyl as a proper LP, and I hope somebody does pretty soon. It's they took their logo from Slash Records.
Nice.
Pretty cool. But so again, one of those bands when they first started a couple years ago, it was a side project. Mario, the guitarist in here, was also the rhythm guitarist in Generación Suicida out of LA. He's no longer in the band as of a couple of months ago, but he was in the band since I think he was one of the founders too. But the first record was just kind of like more kind of cowpunky, but it wasn't refined yet. But this thing is just kind of blew me away. It's really like certain songs, like there's a song Trouble I just had on repeat. I know this is gonna sound silly, but it sounds like a perfect mashup of Gun Club meets what's the name? Jesus and Mary Chain. Like it's that insane and that good. Just like wow, and I keep playing it over and over because I'm just like, this is half Gun Club, half like Jesus and Mary Chain. And the rest of the record, there's a lot of elements of cowpunk going on, but just it's if you like Gun Club, you're gonna like this a lot. And Mario's been listening to a lot of like new wave too as well. It's just nice to see his progression. I met him when he was still doing like straightforward hardcore band. Then he joined Generación Suicida and did that band. and now he's going solo with Ugly, and it's just I can't believe nobody's picked this up yet. Well, they don't play often either. That's another problem. They don't play out a lot. Some of the members have young families, so their time is limited. But I don't understand how this hasn't made it to people's top 10s. But it's definitely worth. Give it a listen. It's Ugly, and it's I think the record's called Personal Hell, but if you can't get the tape, they're on Spotify, Bandcamp, and it's really worth a listen. Even the early stuff is okay, but it's not as it's kind of like, okay, this is good, not as good, but this one just really blew me away. It just kind of caught me out of left field, and I love when like my friends put out really, really good records, because then I can really get behind it. I'm just like, even if you weren't my friend, I'd still be rocking the shit out of this.
Is the first or the earlier stuff still kind of a similar sound, and it just clicked on this one, or was it more kind of a shift?
Yeah, it was still similar sound, but it's just refined now. I think it's just better writing. It's really just better writing and maybe better playing, but just I think like the hooks are there. It's just they really found their groove and their place, and they're writing really catchy shit.
Nice. Yeah, I really want to break my rule of not Googling anything while the show is on, just to make sure I have a tab open so I can listen to that as soon as we're done. It sounds fucking incredible.
I'm writing notes for you guys, so that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah,
I was typing here a lot. Oh no, it's the fireworks. It's not me typing.
Yeah, that was like, yes, there's some fireworks going off. It's me typing on Google. I hope someone picks it up puts it out on vinyl, right? That's what we want.
Yeah, I hope so. I know we're just doing vinyl, but I believe in this record so much. I'm hoping somebody will put it out.
Beautiful. No, tapes are fine. Just the evil shiny discs.
Yeah.
Was it just a self-release, like just the band doing it, or was it?
Yeah, they saw. No, it's a small label out of California called Cintas Cósmicas, cosmic tapes. So, but I don't even know. It might just be their own tape label. I don't know. I'll have to ask, but I know that the earlier stuff was self-released. So.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's the first thing I'm checking out once this is done.
Once this is done.
Come on, guys.
Come on, keep moving. Okay, so the last couple of episodes, I showed a record out of Colombia, like 2 episodes ago, last week. Molloy and Alambrada, 2 fucking amazing hardcore punk records from Colombia. So I thought, okay, let's make it 3, and I'll do another record from Colombia. This is a bit older, and it's not hardcore. And I actually was convinced someone had already shown this because it's such a great record, and they haven't. So I'm going in with it, and I kind of got it about a month ago. It's been on pretty regular rotation. Oi! It's basically an Oi record, but it's much better than Oi. There's so much more to it than just being a straight up Oi record. From Colombia, it's on Sabotage Records, who are a French label. Dead Hero.
Yes, I fucking love that band. They're so good.
I've never heard of them. Nice.
Oh man,
you would love them. She has such a great voice.
There's so much to love about this record. So many little aspects of it that make it great. So La Vida, Continua. It came out in 2017 on Sabotage Records. Lots of members of other bands like Prima, Regimen, Sector Suicida, Total Nada. But they all the members like relocated to Montreal. Okay. I think this was originally just a self-released tape. There we go. It was like just a self-released tape at first, and then Sabotage put it out on vinyl. And I'm not sure where it is recorded. It sounds amazing anyway. But Sabotage put it out on vinyl. Yeah, they relocated from Bogota to Montreal at some point, either before or after this record came out. So actually, the first song is like how many Oi records have an instrumental?
Start with the instrumental.
That's the instrumental, but and it's like MTL, BTA, which is like Montreal, Bogota, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it stands for. Abbreviation.
Yeah, right. And it's just like that amazing like blitz, that chiming like razor sharp guitar sound just rings out like throughout this record. It never gets old. It's like it's more like a sort of more like heavier like modern take on that classic. I call it like the chiming chugger. It's like what I used to call them. It's like that chugging, but it's kind of also like ringing out like chiming, and it's like razor sharp. But this record is like full of those like kind of. It's basically kind of Blitz who did that a lot. The Business did it a little bit too, actually. But it's that like that beautiful like ringing out like guitar tone. Female vocals that are kind of quite more aggressive than it's more like Spanish punk actually in a way. Even though it has like that Blitz influence, it reminds me a lot of like kind of more aggressive like Spanish punk. Lyrics are sung in Spanish too. So man, I couldn't believe how like great this was when I.
Incredible. I've got some weird like discography tape from some label in Malaysia that they must have just not set up their Bandcamp right because it was cheaper to order the tape plus shipping than it was to just buy the digital version. So I'm like, well, fuck it. All right, I'll get the tape. And like 3 months later, it showed up because international shipping. No, it fucking rules. It's Benny, you would love it. It is catchy as hell.
It's amazing. Yeah, like just it's a modern day classic. I want to say. Not sure if it's still going.
I think the most recent thing they did was a split LP with Ultra Razia.
Okay.
It was like from 2020 or 2021 something, maybe 2019. But they have another. I thought they were dead, or not dead, but broken up.
Yes, thanks, Rachel. I was going to say like, yes, this is.
Did you see that comment?
Yeah, that's right. I've actually ordered it. I'm waiting for it to show up. There's a discography, kind of best of kind of collection coming out, which I'm looking forward to. Man,
up, Rachel. Awesome. I'm gonna definitely pick that up
because this is like not your sort of like what I call Oi division. It's like that French, like which I love too. I just want to make sure that people know that it's like it's not like that.
Yeah, and
it's not like your kind of stupid, aggro like right wing Oi, and it's more like just a punk record really. But just that kind of Blitz guitar like really all the way through it. So.
I assume they're named after the Samples record, which
good point. There you go. Good point.
It's a good point of reference for that.
Yes, nice. Yeah, great modern day classic.
So would you say it's more like if what's that name, the Criminal Damage had more Blitz in it?
Criminal Damage is it's dirtier. Like Dead Hero is cleaner with like kind of more, I don't want to say jangly guitar, but like not quite a chorus pedal, but like Criminal Damage sounded dirtier. Mm-hmm. Like it's more like they would be not quite into Second Empire Justice level, but kind of like Warriors a little bit, like that type of guitar. Mm-hmm. Like so that like right before the full switch, like not earlier, but like kind of the mid period.
Nice.
But because like the vocals are in Spanish, and it's like a woman singing it, it just reminds me of so much like that, like female fronted like Spanish punk. Reminds me of that band a little bit called Maldita from Toronto, but like less noisy. It's like just this like Spanish punk feel to it with like that Blitz style.
Does that one have that La Vida Continua song on it?
It's the last song on the record, yeah.
Yeah, that is an anthemic closer to end all anthemic closers.
Yeah. I did check and it's a little bit expensive on Discogs, so maybe it needs a repress or something. But like Rachel said, there's a kind of discography LP out now, in fact, I think. So you can pick that up for cheaper. So check them out. There you go. All right. Cheers.
All right. My turn.
All right, Bill, what's your third pick? Third pick, right?
Yeah, third one. All right. So this is the only record that didn't come out this year in my pick, even though it's a repress. So I guess it's like a 25th anniversary edition of an album. So again, Mike, you always love to refer to me as the young guy, so I guess I'm showing my age. But this is an album that I bought when I was in 8th grade. It was I'm pretty sure I can reasonably say, the first discernibly hardcore album I ever bought in my life.
Okay.
So it is the 25th anniversary repress of Call to Arms from Sick of It All.
Oh,
I fucking love this band. Even there's a big amount of sentimentality to it because, this was appreciably different than, Pennywise and Green Day when I was 13, 14 years old. But listening back to it again, it just fucking rips. I love this band. Like, I know this isn't, like, the Fat Wreck era isn't, the favorite of most of the fans, but I love it. It's, this one and Yours Truly are the first ones that I kind of bought when they were coming out. It's just kind of sounds super dirty despite being like on Fat Wreck Chords. And again, the label, they really love to put their logo on it, but the repress is really fucking cool.
Wow. 25. Oh, they didn't even give them one side, right?
Yeah, so it's really hard to tell which side you're going to start with.
They could have at least used their dragon logo on the other side. That's
right.
Yeah, it's something. Like, you got to read. It does say really small, at least, like side A, side B, but you really got to look. But I love this album. I forgot to do it. This led me down a rabbit hole where I even pulled out the old, like, they had a documentary on VHS that never got released on DVD that I bought around that time too, that I was going to drag out, and I forgot to. I watched it on YouTube while I was working the other day. But yeah, so came out in 1999, early on. It's got like the weird kind of foil, so it's like a little slightly upgraded version of it, as you can see in the reflection. It's just fast as hell, but super catchy still. Like, I assume, most folks know what Sick of It All sound like at this point.
Yep.
A lot of lyrics that really spoke to a 13, 14-year-old Bill about sticking to it, believing in yourself. But no, it's the Call to Arms. Man, don't believe in blind loyalty. That's just mob mentality. I'll do what's right for me, not your call to arms. I love it. Like, I still remember, like, basically every word on this because I just listened to it obsessively because, again, it was appreciably different from most of the stuff I was listening to at the time. Like, most of the stuff you listen to when you're 13 years old, you don't keep listening to into, your almost 40s, but this one still kicks. Still love this band. I try to go. Well, haven't seen them quite as much as I would like to because they always kind of tour with bad bands. Like, they always kind of have they're not like shitty tough guy hardcore, but the
fan base is so right.
Bad shitty tough guy hardcore. So usually seen them like probably half dozen to 6 to 8 or 9 times over the years. Actually, last time I saw them was with Artie's on Next Week, right?
Yeah.
Artie. Funnily enough, what was it? Lou, the singer, just got diagnosed with esophageal cancer or something. Yeah. Like, they just posted an update, like he's doing chemo treatments. So hopefully he gets better and can get back on the road. There was a GoFundMe a little while back. I think that's probably still active.
He is like, he's such a nice bloke.
I've met him a handful of times over the years, and he's just so fucking nice. And it's like, oh yeah, we have to cancel our tour. Sorry to disappoint everyone. And then, like, buries the lead, like, I have cancer. It's like,
yeah, like, there's 2 other members. There's like 2 other members in that band who've gone off the rails politically. He ain't like that, and he's also like just a sweetheart, just like nice, super nice guy.
Yeah,
go ahead.
They're always absolutely disgustingly fun live. Like, I love seeing them. That's why I'm always a little disappointed. It's like, oh, they're touring with, they're like, Terror is headlining. It's like, crap. All right, well, Sick of It All can play for 20 minutes.
You should have saw them in like '89 when they toured with like Napalm Death and Sepultura and.
Oh yeah, I would have. At the last time I saw them they were Napalm Death again. It fucking ruled. It was Sick of It All, Napalm Death, and Municipal Waste. And one bad, I don't even remember who they were, but some shitty Chugga Chugga band opening it. But yeah, it was like a package tour with Napalm Death again. It's like, this fucking rules. Yes.
Lou and Barney are very close friends, so they like to play together when they can. When they can. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the last time they came through town. I couldn't go But John, my guitar player in my old band, John Dugan, was texting me the whole time. He's like, dude, Sick of It All fucking rules. Like every 15 minutes, like, Sick of It All fucking rules. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It's those kind of bands you take for granted and you forget that actually.
Exactly, yeah. Like you just assume they're always going to come through in another 6 months or whatever, and they're going to still always be there. You know, I think the last album came out in 2018.
True.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but it drives up the price, Rachel.
Molloy, you're such a cheap fucker, man.
Hey, now I'm doing all right now, but some of those lean years, I had to make some good tough choices. But yeah, I love basically everything they've put out, but that one obviously very sentimental favorite for me. And as soon as they announced the 25th anniversary issue of it, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm buying this right away. And it was really funny. They put it up for order a day after I finally cleared all of my old CDs out of my parents' basement. And I was going through and I was pulling out, you know, the copies and like the stuff that I could sell to the record store. And I'm looking through and I actually like distinctly remember pulling the CD of that out. I'm like, oh man. I showed it to Lindsay. I'm like, I think this is my first hardcore album. It's like, oh. Nice. And then like 2 days later, that goes up as a pre-order. Like, it's meant to be. Yeah, I love Sick of It All. Hopefully Lou gets better and hopefully can see him again. But
yeah,
great band. I love that band. Huge fan. Always love them.
Nice.
What do you think about Rest in Pieces?
It's okay. I remember, again, this goes back to what we were talking about before, Dan, with the 56K internet at my parents' house until really late. There was some like, I don't remember what the name of the website was, but it was where I downloaded the SSD albums. And they were just like, oh my God, they have full MP3s of these out of print hardcore albums? Oh yeah. So I downloaded the SSD ones and it's just like this awful, shitty rips, but Rest in Pieces was one of the other ones. I don't think I finished the download of it. But again, that was, you know, over 20 years ago. But I've heard it on YouTube and I like it. Yeah, because it's Armand, the drummer, was singing in that one.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I got to give that one another try. I think I found it on YouTube and just like put it on while I was working. I'm like, oh, okay, I was wrong, and was wrong when I was 16 years old.
I could be wrong, but I'll take that over any of the Sick of It All albums.
Yeah, a lot of people love that. That's it. The first like Rest in Pieces record, right? Or the only one, the LP, right?
Yeah, there's a couple of. Did they have more, or is it just the one 12-inch?
I think there's like the one that's like the one that everybody knows when they think of it, and then I think there was like
My Rage. Is that what it's called? Something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember.
I used to get a lot of grief from a decent amount of folks, like, "Oh, Sick of It All is cheesy. Ugh. Why don't you like the Chromags?" Sick of It All is better than the Chromags. Fuck you. Not you, Dan. Not you, Dan. I know we agree on the Chromags.
All right. Dan,
you don't hate them as much as I do. But.
Dan, what's your next pick?
Oh, what was that?
What's your next pick?
Oh, next pick. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
We're gonna head to New Zealand.
Ooh. Cool.
All right, and you know, most of the stuff you hear about from New Zealand, it's like the Clean, Verlaines, the Bats, and it's like poppy, and just, you know, a little more poppy sounding. But then, you know, there's that whole other side to it. Like, I mean, in the 90s, you know, you got like Dead Sea and just weirder, noisier stuff. But then like you head back into the 80s and can't really Nocturnal Projections.
Oh, okay.
It's all flyers on the front, so their name's on there a bunch of times, but you guys, I'm sure, can't read it. And yes, it's still in the plastic. I just realized today that I've never opened this record, and I've probably owned it for years.
I'm not the only one. It's good to know.
But yeah, this is more like, it's hard to describe. Like, it's obviously like Joy Division is in there, but then like this one in particular, there's two different LPs. There's an LP of like complete studio recordings, and then this one with the flyers. It's called Inmates in Images. It's live and rare stuff. And it's got this song, Walk in a Straight Line, that it sounds like if Bob Mould wrote a song with Joy Division or something. It's got like super chimey guitars, and you would never guess that any of this is live because it all just sounds like studio recordings. It sounds amazing, especially for, you think like this was like 1982 in New Zealand. I'm sure there wasn't a surplus of quality recording studios or even quality
mobile units.
Yeah, and none of their stuff was on like Flying Nun or anything. It was all on like smaller labels, or I think even self-released stuff. But Days, DAIS Records.
Okay.
They did both the 2 LPs. That would have been 2018.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, they're still, as far as I know, the label still got copies.
Okay. I'm gonna have to hell yeah.
And like it has the Jeffries brothers, which like Graham Jeffries went on to be in his solo project was the Cake Kitchen, who put out a ton of records. They were both in This Kind of Punishment, which is a little more difficult music, I would say. I don't know, it's just weird and seems purposely like distant, but their live stuff sounds a lot like Nocturnal Projections. And then Peter Jeffries from Nocturnal Projections did a few solo albums in the 90s, and Cat Power actually covered one of the songs on What Would the Community Think?
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. Like the Jeffries brothers have like 2 decades at least of like golden material.
Nice. Yeah, I'm completely familiar with that.
When I think of New Zealand, I do generally tend to think of like the Bats and the Chills and the Queen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with those.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
No.
It's just like probably 16 years ago now. It doesn't seem like it's been that long ago, but there was that blog. I think it was called Kiwi Tapes, and they would post a new New Zealand record every day. And I wouldn't even like listen, like check into it. I just downloaded everything, and I have like on my hard drive I have like 3 gigs of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rarities, and just I don't understand how a country so small could have so much just amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Dice Records. That's pretty big label, right?
I don't know. Not in like punk, really. I don't think. But
no, like more like fucking. Oh, what's the?
Trying to think like
High Vis. They put out the High Vis Records, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. High Vis. Forgot about that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Benny. What's your third pick?
Okay, here's another one I've been revisiting a lot lately because I think it just sort of it's like literally the godfather to like several genres of music. I think it's a masterpiece, and I think like every 10 years since I was in high school, I first heard this and it blew me away. And now going on 30 years later, I still play this when I DJ, and it's Iggy Pop the Idiot. I think it was ground zero for a lot of music. You know, obviously, like it's. I think it's a punk record, just given the time, the attitude. But I want to say this is sort of like proto goth, even. You know, I think we're not for a song like Fun Time. You know, I mean, this is definitely. I'm sure I'm not of that era, but I could see this. Probably was a huge record in clubs like the Batcave and stuff like that. You know, and I think this is one of those records where if you were of the Joy Division camp, or you know, the super goth makeup alien sex fiend specimen scene, or I bet even the guys from Blitz were listening to this. You know, it's just, I think, one of those records that just, you know, all the tribes were listening to it at that time. And you know, just there's still like traces of glam happening here, like with, you know, Sister Midnight, night clubbing, which is just a minimal. I think it made a comeback on that Train Spotting soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, I mean, it's obviously it's a Bowie Iggy Pop record, so you just hear the best of both of those guys. Just perfect collaboration between them, and I think it still holds up. You know, like play this record, and it still sounds fresh. You know, it doesn't, at least to me, it doesn't sound like a '70s record. You know. You know, and this was even back then much more mainstream. This would have been competing with Lou Reed records or whatnot,
right,
at the record stores. But it sounds fresh. It doesn't sound dated. And I revisit this every couple of years, and just kind of like right now, I'm just kind of sort of getting burned out, and I think that whole post-punk resurgence is just so played out. Where this is just to cleanse my palate. I got to throw this on to just let's get back to ground zero.
I hear you a little bit on that. Yeah, it's like, I think we've had this discussion before. Like post-punk, that term is basically sort of meaningless at this point. What does it even kind of mean? It's just thrown around like so much to describe something, like we said with the Canal Irreal record. It's like,
correct. You know, and it's just, I mean, I think that, you know, when you try to do a sound and you don't listen to the records that started it, that's where you lose me. It just sounds like, it sounds disingenuous and fake, you know. And I can always tell when I pick up a record and it speaks to me, and I read interviews or get to meet the band, you just know what they're listening to, and it comes through. You know, there has to be a foundation versus the copycats that are listening to, you know, like they want to sound like Molchadoma versus, you know, what were those guys listening to that influenced them.
Right.
So yeah, I think for me, like when I get inundated with all these bands that just sound the same now, that's a great record to go back to and just start over.
It sounds like it's from the future, like even now.
Yeah, it still does.
Yeah,
we know the Joy Division people are listening to it because
let's not go there, right?
One like annoying thing about that record is like it's kind of hard to find an original. For some reason, even though they probably pressed like thousands of that, people don't sell them, right?
I think that's what it is that it's a record that people hold on to, you know.
Hold on to it,
you know. And I've met older people that were strictly just into punk that don't even like, you know, goth or new wave or anything, and they hold on to this, you know. I think.
Right.
And that's not morbid, but give another 10, 15 years, they'll be on the market when people pass away.
You'll see them at estate sales, not record stores.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I used to have like originals like years ago, and then I sold them when I moved here. But yeah, I couldn't. I had to get like, was it the 2015, I think, reissue, something like that. I read that they don't sound like quite as good as. So I'm still on the lookout for like originals of that and. Lust for Life too.
Yeah. I had to choose between them both. I only wanted to talk about one, but I've been listening to both of them. They're just quintessential.
Nice.
I would choose you.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm kind of scared to show my next pick now. It kind of touches.
I haven't put that on in a very long time. That's going to be another one tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to be busy.
I'm busy tomorrow. Yeah.
I feel like right now, that era of Iggy is like a huge, like stuff like that. Was it Peace Day Resistance? That like those two albums. Like, I think he's like heavily pulling from like those two Iggy records.
I agree, and then some Mind Stirs in a Bottom too on that record. That I think that's a modern masterpiece. He's ahead of the pack right now.
I'm a bit scared to show my next pick because it kind of does touch a bit on what Benny was just saying about like new bands. But it's not post-punk. It's not post-punk.
Although that's going to be an Iggy record from 1997.
Which I like that.
Zombie Birdhouse.
Hey, that one's all right. That one's got some stuff.
The one with Butt Town on it.
Oh, God. Portland, Oregon. A band that kind of started out as like a sort of D-beat band, then kind of quickly transformed into like a gothic band and a death rock band. I think this band is really good. I think they're onto something, even though they do kind of wear their influences quite clearly on their sleeves. They have a new record out, and I think it's really, really good. And I was going to show it like 2 weeks ago, but I'm glad I didn't, because I was like, I don't know about this. I'm glad I kind of sat with it for a little bit before I'm showing it, because I've kind of come around. It's a grower, let's put it that way. So, Deathcharge.
Yeah. Good band.
Midnight Road, it's their new record. Apparently, like, according to, they don't have any albums. Everything they've done is either a 7-inch or like a 12-inch EP, according to Discogs. But this is almost like modern day LP length, though. You know, it's 5 songs. They're all kind of pretty long songs. Man, you could not get any drier. It's like bone dry. Like the production on this, it's like so like brittle. There's no warmth at all on this record. It's so steely and bone dry. It's great. It's like it works really well. It almost reminds you of like some of the like new wave of British heavy metal records that you'd get on like Ebony Records, where it's like so like badly produced. It's like super trebly. The guitar tone kind of almost hurts your ears. Like it's the drums sound really bad. It kind of sounds a bit like that. That's what kind of it reminded me of. But it works. It's super bone dry, like steely, and it's slow as well. It's like slow or mid-paced or slow. There's nothing fast.
Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of took me a while to kind of get used to it. Being summer and everything, you know, this is definitely a winter or fall record, I'm gonna say. But I know. I really like it. It's got like the Discharge font from fucking like from like the was it Shooting Up the World or Massacre Divine? Massacre Divine.
Okay. Yeah. The best Discharge.
Yes, the best.
The only Discharge.
But there's absolutely like no Discharge remaining in this band at all. That's like long gone. They've long left that behind. Very interesting band. Death rock, I guess if you want to kind of put a label on it. But I think they're really good. I think their songs are really good. They're not immediate. They take a while to kind of creep into your skin. But it's good stuff. If you're a Deathcharge fan,
I am, and I like, you know, I have to say I give them props because they were of that first generation in the late 2000s when, you know, them and Spectres were one of the first punk bands that were punks and started playing this post-punk new wave goth music.
Right.
You know, definitely they were into it. It wasn't like it is now where it's like a genre and let's try to play that kind of music. And I like them. I think they're good.
I was surprised actually.
I enjoyed their hardcore stuff too, to be honest.
Yeah. It's funny because I saw like a photo of them, like an interview with them, and it had a photo of them, and they looked much older than like what I was expecting them. They're probably like, I don't know why I still kind of thought they were kind of younger Portland guys, right? But they're not. They're kind of probably around my age, I think, especially like the singer maybe.
I think they're I'm gonna date myself. I think they're about my age. They're probably the late 40s.
Yeah, right.
Mid to late 40s at the youngest.
Is there someone from Long Knife in that band?
I'm sorry?
Isn't there someone from Long Knife that's also in that band?
There's a whole bunch of people that have been in this band, like Chris Carey from who was in Poison Idea. He's passed away, sadly. He was in Religious War too. He obviously isn't on this record, but he was in them at 1.2. But there's
They've
definitely
had some folks go in and out.
Yes. I
haven't heard that.
It's new. It's just come out. It's only been out.
Okay, that's it. Who put that out, Mike?
It's on a label called Wyrd War, like Wyrd spelled like WYRD.
Okay.
War. The label I don't know anything about. But yeah, great record. And again, Benny kind of helped me out and said that like that Canal Irreal record had a bit of like Articles of Faith in it, right? Yeah. It's been bugging me like all week. This record reminds me of something too, but it came to me straight away, and I'll just quickly show it because there's definitely some like old like Japanese stuff. Like there's definitely like a bit of like gas tunk in there, like especially but not what you're thinking. It's like the first song on this record is like a slow, like almost like slow song, and the guitar tone and the riff on the last song of the Deathcharge record is almost identical to like the first song on this record. So
I think that was one of your picks last time I was on, Mike.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You showed the Gas Dunk record that I owned at one point, and you're like, it's not this one, it's not the bad one, and then you pulled that out.
Not the bad one, Bill.
not the Pusshead one.
Because these guys were like hardcore punks who started doing goth and death rock really early on, like Gas Dunk and the Exedo, right, back in the 80s. So
yeah,
Deathcharge is definitely kind of been listening to Gas Dunk.
Cool. I have to.
Been around for 25 years.
Yeah, I don't know why it surprised me so much. I still had it in my mind that they were kind of like not a newer band, right? But
they can't really be too young.
Time flies.
They're as old as my Sick of It All record.
25 years. Wow. Crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, I got to hear that one.
It's been a while since they've had a record out, so it's good to have something new from Deathcharge. All right. Bill, what's your next pick?
All right. Back to 2024. And Mike, this is where I got afraid when you're like, oh, it's a Chicago band. I'm like, oh, shit. What bands have put out records recently? So it's one that just came out, and it's a band that put out a demo in 2020 and then nothing for a while. So I'm like, oh, hopefully they didn't break up, but they didn't. Just took their time recording and it was worth it. It's The Body Remembers from Exedo.
Oh,
Christine and David Wolf from Daylight Robbery. And,
how is it? I'm excited to hear about this record.
It's really good. So the songs are longer. It's 10 or 11 songs, and it's like 30, almost 40 minutes. So songs are longer. They're more drawn out. They took their time with it. Like I was saying, the demo came out in 2020, and this just came out. Actually, the record release shows with Canal Irreal a couple months ago at the Bottle.
Wow.
So it's just Christine singing. David just does a couple of like backups, just playing guitar. But there's keyboards on it. Christine started playing synths and keys. Honestly, my only complaint about this album is I wish there were more keyboards.
Okay.
It just fits the mood so well. And I don't want to say I hate to use the term mature because they were always mature. Daylight Robbery is always a mature band. Like the Wolves are, Wolves are always who you would want to be in punk with, just writing great songs and being great people. But so maturity was never their problem. But they just took their time with writing the songs and kind of spread them out a little bit. And just the keyboard adds that much of an extra layer to it. Like the last song on here, Victims of Convenience, there's one part where there's just kind of a backing vocal where it's like, woo, kind of like ooze. And then David is doing a little bit of a lead. And there's also some like chimey keyboards in the back where you're just like, fuck, it's all fitting together so well. So there's the good, slow, anthemic ones, but there's also a couple that are a little bit faster. It has the 4 songs from the demo on it, and they all do sound better here. So this is definitely not a case of like, oh, the demo's better. It came out on Dirt Cult, so it should be relatively easy to find.
Nice.
I love it. Like I was waiting for it for a very long time again because I just wanted, new songs from them for 4 years. Heavily recommended. If it's just Christine singing, so David just does some backups, but her voice has never sounded better. Like Christine's always been a great singer, but her voice has never sounded better than this. I'd be saying this even if we weren't friends with them, but I love this record, love this band. very happy it finally came out. And plus the cover art is just fucking killer. It's, I think, manga from Forza Bruta did it, I want to say.
Hey, not too dissimilar.
Thanks. My God, look at that. Yeah, I would say Damage Up Ahead is the real just kind of ripper that gets stuck in my head. That's got, again, the killer chorus. Victims of Convenience is the other one, and Lone Boot, that's a re-recording from one of the demo tracks. But yeah, it's a little bit, I don't want to say spookier, but it's much less X influence, again, because there's not the vocal trade-off. It's more the kind of Susie and the Banshee side of Christine's songwriting and David's songwriting. But yeah, it's great. I'm very happy that this actually came out. Cool. I'd say actually as if there was a point where it wasn't going to, but no, I'm just happy it actually came out. It's really good. Like, again, even if, you know, wasn't friends with them, I love this record.
I'm excited to
highly recommended.
I'm glad you mentioned it's on Dirt Cult, because I think that will be available here at some point.
Yeah, it's cool. Purple on there.
Pretty.
Yeah, I have this. I think that show was in end of June. So that's 2 months ago. Hasn't gotten filed away. Still on pretty heavy rotation.
That's always a good sign, right? Not filed away equals good, right?
Yeah, highly recommended. It's nice. Gonna be another one of the ones that's probably on like the top 10 or 15 of the year.
Cool. Nice. All right. Beautiful. All right, Dan, what's your fourth pick?
All right, number 4. This band is a mystery band. Not much is known about them, just because I can't explain it. It's just they put it out themselves. No one knows where the whereabouts of the singer now. Like, there's all these like rumors, like he might be a Buddhist monk. That's the most popular rumor. But the band is Third Rail, and that album's called End It. I heard about it on this podcast called The Traeger Method, and the host Jason Traeger talks about this guy Mark Sperry, who it's like he's like he comes off as like a Diet Rollins, basically. Like he put out books under the name like Sperry. I found one live video of them, and he's got tattoos in similar places, and he's dressed just like Rollins.
Just a pair of shorts.
Thanks.
I've said that Third Rail is to Rollins' band what Blast is to Black Flag.
Okay.
Oh, now
Like,
you've really got my attention.
Yeah.
Said that.
But it sounds like the like Hot Animal Machine and Lifetime era. But when I was listening to it today, I started thinking about specifically about the guitar leads they're not jazzy. Like,
Okay.
They're not jazzy, and they almost remind me of like Randy Uchida from Disney. It's like almost they got this like that guitar god like glammy, but like in a tasteful way. I don't know. It's a weird mixture because it's so familiar, and then it does something like it has like a weird solo, and it's just like I don't know.
I can't think of anything much better that is like Blast with Randy Uchida on guitar. Sounds like the perfect group.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like it's from 1990, and I can't believe like no one like I'm a huge like Black Flag is my favorite band and has been for 30 years. But I can't believe no one's ever mentioned them. But I think they put out this one record on Caffeine Machine Publications.
That's another Rowlet. Jesus Christ.
even the font is like total like 21361, like the same font. It's I heard a rumor. There was a rumor that he lived with Rollins for a little bit at one point. There's an episode of Traeger Method with an interview with Eugene Robinson from Oxbow, and he tells this story. Apparently, Mark Sperry from Third Rail ended up singing on the first Oxbow record because Eugene had Rollins slated to do backing vocals, and then they had a falling out, so they got Mark Sperry. But,
so were they from Southern California?
Oakland.
Oakland, okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything about them.
No, yeah, and it's self-released, so like I think it just kind of it's one of those things that's fallen through the cracks. But like, man, anybody who's a big Black Flag head or like a Blast fan definitely should seek it out. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I got like a radio station copy, so it was I think under $10.
Whoa.
Nice. Does it have the call letters written on and it's all beat up but still plays?
You can maybe kind of see on the hand there's some call letters.
Yeah.
There's a little sticker on the back.
Yeah.
Do not play this song.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the mirroring as I'm pointing.
There you go. You got it.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's
yeah. And it was recorded with Bart Thurber at House of Faith, so it sounds good too. Like it's yeah, it's a hidden gem for sure.
Oh.
So has it been reissued at all, or is it still just
No,
as far as you know?
not at all. Yeah, it's just one pressing. That's the only thing. I don't think they had a demo or anything. Just had that one record.
Wow. What year is that from?
1990.
Shit. Wow. Well, I don't think you can repress it if they can't find the guy unless you did an unofficial boot it.
Damn.
I mean, so the album is on YouTube. The full album is, and the guitar player comments in the comments for the video, and then there's that live video I mentioned, and it's with their like a later lineup, and somebody from that lineup comments on that video. So it's like some of them seem to be findable, but the singer is just nobody knows.
You think they have Google Alerts set up? Although that would be a bad one to have. Third Rail is going to pop up a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of accidental deaths with that alert.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'm resisting the urge to Google it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it written down. I will be listening to that tonight.
Nice.
You got to see the live video though, because it's the song and it's not as good as the album, but like you got to see like the Rollins-isms. It's just great. I don't know. I can't.
A lot of that.
It's entertaining.
Yeah, and he had to have been really into Rollins because 90. I mean, you'd had to have seen him live and like be really fanboy to get his mannerisms or just his aesthetic down pat. You know, this is pre-internet era. You know, unless maybe you recorded off of MTV or a local cable access show. Performance, just watch it over and over, which still means you're putting in a lot of time. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I'm obviously, I'm sure a lot of you huge into Black Flag and Blast, so that's definitely on my to-do list.
I'm Rolling Stones too, right?
Yeah, Rolling Stones is pretty good too.
Nice. All right, Benny, what's your fourth pick?
My fourth one here is Big Boys.
Yeah.
I think it's for me it's you know my favorite Big Boys record. I mean, if I had to choose one, I love them all, but this one is particularly enduring to me because I think it's that era of there was something in the water where all these hardcore bands were writing just these really pop sweet songs, like it's this obviously this is up there with what Husker Du was doing, kind of moving into that pop sensibility.
Mm-mm.
But some of these songs that are on this record are still just straightforward, really good hardcore songs. But I think just the packaging too, all of it. It's obviously Homie was a great artist, and no matter how long, I think it's just a great, just like an art project. Even the lyric sheet, I think is so pretty. Like it's just his writing and the layout of the pictures. It's I mean rudimentary but so pretty, and I think it's very intentional and thought out. Like you've got like the back, which is still like our hardcore pose, and then you go to forward at the front of it. It's just this really pretty drawing painting. And Which Way to Go is one of my favorite songs ever.
Yeah.
It's my go-to DJ song whenever I'm doing sets. I think it's one of those songs where even people that don't know who the big boys are, I'll catch them tapping their feet and asking me, "Who is this?" It's solid record. It's one of those bands I hate to pick one record, but for me, this is my favorite Big Boys record.
Nice.
Which Way to Go is a top 5 song for me all time, for sure.
Nice. Nice.
When I heard that album first in like my late teens or early 20s, I remember hearing record scratching on one of the songs and was like so bummed.
But it's like as you get older and appreciate more things, you're like, they were really trying to push the album. I mean, they always were. They're always fun stuff live. Like from what I hear of their live shows, there was always just this giant party. And they were one of those bands that, in my opinion, and from what I know of people that have met them, that are friends of theirs, they're always listening to a lot of different shit. They weren't just listening to hardcore punk or metal. They're all over the place, and you hear that in their music. They're drawing inspiration from a lot of different things.
I think that's
everything.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes all those like early '80s hardcore bands like so good, because they hadn't grown up on hardcore really. They'd grown up on a lot of other music and stuff. So, you can hear it in there, right? So,
and it still sounds fresh too. It sounds like Which Way to Go. I mean, it sounds like a song that could have been released in the mid 2000s. By I hate to say it, like one of the better indie bands, that of the moment could have written and played that song. It's just, I think it's ahead of its time.
Yeah, the way that I heard him was I found a used copy of the Fat Elvis CD, so it was that.
Yeah,
12-inch, and can't remember the name of the other one, but just the breadth of the different sounds they had across, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to listen to because it was a full 78-minute CD or whatever. But it was almost always worth it because there was just so much shit on there, and it was always so different. You'd start off with a fun record, it had Hollywood Swinging, and then Which Way to Go on the next one, and the record scratching and Gator fucking just had so much stuff on it. And I saw it really recently. I just got lost on a rabbit hole of Big Boys videos on YouTube, and then I was just kind of Googling them. Some like ISS, like NASA Space Commander, was one of their like regular horn players when he was like a teenager, which was the coolest fucking connection in the world. Like this guy that's on the
that is really cool. I never knew that.
Played horns with the fucking big boys. Like this man is my hero now. Doing the 2 coolest things in the world.
Wow, that's wild.
There's a wide net with them.
Wow.
Very wide net.
Nice. Wow, time's flying. It's last round already. Yeah. I figured I got this a couple of weeks ago, and it's German punk, old German punk. There might be someone here who I know Bill is a big fan of like old German punk. I am too. I've never owned this record until a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is sort of probably considered a classic in the genre of German punk, and I had heard this band back in the day because they were on the Peace comp. They had a track on the Peace comp back in the day. That would have been where I first heard them. I'm happy to get this. It's a reissue. Came out in 1983 originally. Beautiful cover, black and white sleeve. Punk as fuck. Upright Citizens.
Oh yeah.
How did I not hear or own this all these years? I mean, you can't hear everything, but it's like, Jesus, what was I doing with my life? It's like it took me to 2024 to get around to listening to and like owning this. It's so like it's like quintessential like German punk from the era, you know, like taking stuff from like UK 82, but then like putting like beer drinking songs like on top of it. It's like super sing-songy. It's almost hardcore, but it's still like really, really punk rock, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
guess. The first song, like Attack, it's amazing. Just an amazing opener. It's so weird just to think that I'd heard like one song in like 1983, and then I'd never like owned any records by them until like 2 weeks ago.
There was a couple of years ago, Welly reissued their 7-inch, one of their 7-inches, an issue of Hardcore. That I think that's the only like physical record that I own. I can't remember exactly which one the name is, but it's like
because the one that we knew back in the 80s was like the second album, Open Eyes, Open Ears, and a Mouth to Speak. I think that's what it's called. That's kind of more like crossover, but this is like that old school like German punk, which is kind of edging into like hardcore. You say, oh, that sounds a bit like GBH. Oh, that sounds a bit like the Partisans, or like Abrasive Bots. Oh, that sounds a little bit like Stiff Little Fingers. But it's like just this super catchy German punk, you know. It's like one of a kind. It's just, I was joking about the beer drinking songs, but it does have that super sing-songy. It's so like sing-along, you know, and upbeat party kind of music. Although this sort of does get a little bit dark at points, but it's funny. Like with these really old records, I'm often interested in like what Maximum Rock and Roll like had to say about them, like when they came out, because it's kind of funny to look back and think and see actually. And Tim Johannan said this was like thrash. It just totally is not thrash, but I guess maybe at the time it kind of did sound like thrash, but it's like it's way more like UK 82 like punk sounding than like whatever he thought thrash was.
So they were on the Welcome to 1984 comp, weren't they?
Yes, they were on the Peace comp.
On that too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
When you started saying the German punk, I was wondering if you were going to pick out an OHL album. I just found one of those here fairly recently.
Another great band.
Very excited about that.
Yeah.
Nothing
Check
like
it out.
having bootlegs of records on Rockorama.
That's the Rockorama one, right? The old OHL.
Yeah, I think they're.
It was a redress. It was I promise I'm not giving Rockorama any money.
Yeah, I had two of their albums, and they were both bootlegs. They came in that like crunchy plastic.
Yeah, if you like German punk, or just punk in general, it's like pretty much almost hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go wrong with the Upright Citizens. Reissue from 2014 on Colturshock Records.
Okay.
German. Yeah.
So it's not an original then?
No, God, no. No.
Throwing it around a little.
Yeah. I don't know how hard an original is to find. Original came out on Heart, H-A-R-T. Oh, hey, there's a Satan's Rats cover on here too.
Oh.
You Make Me Sick.
That's a great song.
There you go.
And I picked up some like discography of theirs a couple of years back, and I sold it after like 3 months because it was like a 15 or 16 song LP, but outside of the 3 singles, like the 6 songs, all of it's so fucking bad. But those original singles rule, and
Right.
You Make Me Sick, one of the better punk songs. But yeah, some of that post-initial punk explosion Satan Rat stuff is really bad. It's a slog to get through.
All right.
Sorry, State Rats, guys. That's what we were just talking about. Oh, we don't want to make fun of abolition bands.
Satan Rats. That's okay. Fair game. All right, Bill, what's your last pick?
All right, my last pick. It is a band that has been talked about before.
Okay.
But not this record. This is another brand new one. It's a UK band from Stevenage.
Hotbed of punk activity.
It's the new Bad Breeding, Contempt.
All right.
Came out on Iron Lung in America. This is the which variant is this? Splatter white and blue. It's like they always have just great packaging. Like this one's not one of the fold-out sleeves; it's an actual like traditional bit. But it comes with, and I'm gonna fully admit I haven't read the zine yet. But it comes with a zine with 3 different essays about local issues around that. Mud, Metal, and Moonlight is one of them. Rivers Towards an Uncivil Solidarity. It's very much still on the anarcho-punk bent with the layouts and typeface and artwork. The lyric sheet. Art by Nikki Rat. Just again, you just want to stare at this. Like Bad Breeding's one of the few bands where I'll actually like pull out the lyric sheet and read along as I'm listening. But yeah, this just is cool as hell. So this one, it's another case where they're kind of drawing out the songwriting a little bit. The first track on here, Temple of Victory, they started with what could have probably been like a minor radio hit in the 90s. Like it's got this super catchy bass line with this kind of, I want to say noodly, but like some kind of chorused out, like there's not that many chords in it. It's more just like guitar leads over it and just an incessant just chorus to it. Like as I think I've said about every record I've pulled out, I'm a big chorus guy. Just gets in the head, just gets stuck in there. It's like 5.5 minutes long, so it's 10 songs.
Wow.
And I think there's 3 songs that are over 5 minutes, which is usually the death knell for any kind of hardcore band. Or it seems like there's less of kind of the anarcho punk in the music, even though it's still there in the packaging and everything and the lyrics. It starts off with what honestly it could have been a minor radio hit. Like it has that kind of catchiness to it. The bass line loops. It's like how like Flipper had just amazing bass lines that were simple and just get in there. It's kind of like that, but done now with, an English guy talking about how the world's going to hell over it. And then it just breaks into the next couple of songs are all just flat out bangers that sound like the angriest shit they've ever done. Like there's, like some of the older albums have the kind of like drum stuff with the kind of rolling drums. This doesn't really have that much. It alternates more between the doomier stuff and faster than they've ever been. And there's a weird, I almost hesitate to say it, but there's more, some of the guitar solos sound like fucking Zakk Wylde with like dive bombs. But it works in context. I see that face you're making. I know how much you love metal. It's your favorite thing.
I'm not mad about that.
But it stays interesting, like they're evolving the sound of it, and I haven't listened. I was listening to the last one that came out, Human Capital, this week, because I just wanted to see like, okay, were there dive bomb guitar solos on that? And I don't recall. Like I listened to it, but I was working, so I was kind of halfway distracted. But that's a new wrinkle on it. Survival, Devotion, and Liberty, the next 3 songs after the first one, after the kind of radio hit song, are just fast as fucking shit, where you just want to take whatever you're drinking or your glass and just throw it against the wall and just like punch something, but in a constructive manner because, you want to be peaceful. So there's a little bit more, like there's a handful of the other ones that are kind of more the other 5-minute songs. Like they always kind of had the interludes with, you know, kind of like the samples, but it was more kind of separated out. But these are more intertwined into the actual songs on this. Like there's a handful of them where it just kind of builds and builds and builds until you almost don't hear any guitar at all. It's more kind of the harsh. And again, I hate to say this because I'm not a harsh noise guy. I don't like power electronics. It's not my thing. But like it just kind of feels semi-industrial where you kind of feel the backing, but it still sounds like human beings are doing it, you know? Yeah, it's a really good continuation of what they were doing before, but it's the next step where they're kind of moving a little bit away from, you know, the kind of more rolling anarcho crass sound. There's none of that. But the kind of alternating between the fastest stuff they've ever done and the kind of more stretched out, measured stuff that kind of builds and builds and builds. And again, I'm going to hit this again. I swear to God, Temple of Victory, this first song, could be a fucking radio hit. Nice. It's so catchy. It's so good. And I mean that in the best way possible. If Iron Lung ever had like a college radio department, they should push that as hard as they can. So,
aren't they on
yeah, they're on one little
they're on one little indie, right?
They're one little indie. Sorry, they changed the name. Yeah, that was, I remember they because they're on that like big label in England, but you know, Iron Lung in America, so they got, you know, all the hype. They're like in like Kerrang and playing, you know, Big Fest in the UK. But when they toured America in 2019, they played, you know, One City Tap on a Tuesday night. That's like a neighborhood bar that's punk friendly. Like they played in, you know, a bar in McKinley Park, which fucking rules. And the difference between, you know, playing, you know, these big mega fests in England versus, you know,
that's insane.
It's just, but they were so fucking good. Like it's, you know, they didn't care. They were just there to kill it. Like
it's interesting because like that one little Indian is a big enough label. I mean, they put fucking Bjork out. You know, it's right. So
so they did a lot of push in the UK, but they still, you know, did the DIY circuit here and, you know, played a bar down the street and fucking ruled. It was great. And one of I cannot, even still 5 years later, I still think about that show. They were so good, and I really hope they get back. They were. What was the one they were touring on? Exiled or? They were touring on Exiled when they came through, and I already was a pretty big fan, but that was just like instant level up. Like a Tuesday night and playing on the floor in front of, you know, 50, 75 people in this bar.
Wow. I completely missed that. Who did they play with?
Who did they play with? BTTW? That band that Sarah and Gorka did that didn't last too long. Who else played that show? Shit, I don't remember. Sarah booked it. I can't remember. I can't remember who else played it. I know BTTW, and it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna have to look that up after. But it's gonna bug me. I know there was a third band because it was 2019, so that was not the era of a 2-band show.
Yeah.
Fuck, who else played? But they just destroyed it. And I'm big fan. I feel like this might be their best one. Like it just sounds huge. Like they always sounded good. Like they've always known their sound. That was one of those bands that just, after I went back and listened to some of the beginning stuff, they just sounded fully formed from the start. But this feels like a level up, like even from them.
Nice.
Yeah, very into it. Highly recommended.
Record by record, they stay consistently great, but they always evolve in some way. It's remarkable because, like, I don't know, bands do not pull that off.
It's very rare. Yeah. Right. Like I really enjoy it because, like, some of the times listening to some of the other ones where it's like, all right, here's the electronic or like the kind of interlude intro, like, all right, yeah, I know, just get to the good stuff. But this one, it's worked in very well.
Nice.
Yeah, big fan. I'm very happy that they're sticking around. Like some of the hype kind of died down, I think, and I was like, oh, they, you know, maybe they're breaking up or whatever. But no, they're still putting out records every 2-3 years. Like that's what they want to do. Like it's just fucking love it. I hope they stick around for. I hope they're one of those bands that puts out records every 3 years for like 25 years. And I'll buy every single one of them. I'm a big fan.
Nice.
Cool. Right, Dan, what's your last pick?
All right, so for my last pick, I'm gonna follow. I guess what my trend for my list is not picking any records from 2024.
We've had that covered.
I listen to a ton of new music. Like I hear new music all the time.
Substack.
Yeah, but like I don't buy a ton of new music. I definitely listen. I listen to it, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have the space for a lot of new records. I just unloaded 16 boxes of LPs the other night. So
Jesus.
Whew. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I don't have any shelf space. So for my pick, I don't have a real preface to this. It's just this comp called Strum and Thrum. It's on Captured Tracks from I think it's 2020. Double LP, big giant booklet, just
Nice.
Tons of info. It is basically just like there's no bad songs. It's double LP, 4 sides. The worst stuff is still like stuff you wouldn't normally skip. And I just put it on, like I put it on and I was just like, oh my God, like it's a whole comp of bands that basically it just sounds like they got really into REM and decided to start a band.
Nice.
I mean, the sub name is the American Jangle Underground, 1983 to 1987.
Okay.
I've seen it. I just haven't listened to it, but I've seen it floating around.
Yeah, it's there's plenty of like Archer Pruitt from Sea and Cake, like one of his early bands is on there. A guy from Beechwood Sparks, one of his early bands is on the comp. Like Crippled Pilgrims from DC are on there, they were on Fountain of Youth. Their bass player was Mitch Parker from Government Issue.
Yeah, they were a Government Issue band or adjacent band.
Yeah, and they're the Crippled Pilgrim song on here is awesome, and like you can still find those records around. When this comp came out, all of a sudden the Crippled Pilgrims records like started going for $20-$30 for a little bit.
Wow.
And
The decimal place moved.
but then I was in DC. I went to Smash last summer, and I found the first Crippled Pilgrims 12-inch for like $3 in the bargain bin.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like the front cover, like it's the band 1+2. I think they're from North Carolina, but you can see that the guitar player and the bass player are both playing Rickenbackers. So that kind of gives you a little inkling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say by far their song is that's my favorite, is the 1+2. I wrote down a top 5 is them, 28th Day, which is Barbara Manning, who I think she was on the No Alternative comp in the 90s. Yeah, and she like had a solo career, and she was in World of Pooh. Then Crippled Pilgrims, Great Plains. They're a Columbus band, like Mike Rep was in that band, from Mike Rep and the Quotas, or Ron House from Thomas Jefferson Slave Apartments. And then The Outnumbered, which is John Giannoli before Pansy Division.
Okay.
And it sounds like Pansy Division, but like a little more punk. And there's no Nine Inch Nails or Bill and Ted's Homosexual Adventures, but it's really good. Like it's like hearing those Pansy Division albums and wanting them to be a little more punk. It's like, oh, this is the outnumbered. But yeah, it's a comp that everything sounds kind of REM adjacent, which is funny because when I was a kid, I remember like hating on REM, and then like saying like, oh, if we're still a band on New Year's Eve on 1999, we're gonna break up, and I was like so pumped for that because I wanted them to break up. But and then I think about it and like, I loved all those like IRS era and like even Green when I was a kid. It was
People
just
sort of forget a little bit that really early REM is quite different to when they blew up, right? The early stuff is more it's more similar to like UK or jangle pop and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
More twee and
in the last 2 years, I guarantee the band that I've listened to more than anything is REM, and that makes me feel 43 to say that.
Another young guy on the show.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
What
would you say is your favorite band on that comp?
Let's see here. It's hard. I mean, that 1+2 song is really good, but like I've tried to dig into this comp, and there's plenty of bands that they have records, and then you realize like, oh, that's their really good song, and then they don't have other songs that even come close. But like there's a band called the Van Dykes on here. I don't know what they all put out, but there's like their song "Breaking My Heart" is awesome. Just like real like kind of jittery like 60s.
Nice.
But like through the 80s filter, like the 28th Day song, it's like sounds like LA Paisley Underground stuff.
Nice.
But then I mean it's just it all fits together, but there's a lot of like variety of like there's definitely like plenty of like 60s jangle type stuff. Like
nice. Very nice.
With the Springfields, or the White Sisters. They're totally that's one of the Smiths bands on here for sure.
Like, okay.
First thing you think is like, okay, this band loved the Smiths.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Johnny Marr guitar? Hell yeah.
No, we're not talking. No, Johnny Marr's guitar playing is undeniable. It's,
yeah. Leave that to you guys.
I know Morrissey's an acquired taste, but you cannot deny Johnny Marr's pop sensibility, and it's just his playing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to check that out. Thank you. I'm interested in that.
Cool. I remember that coming out. So it was 2021, you said, right?
It says 2020 copyright, but I don't know if it might have been 2021. I don't remember.
Well, I have another question for you, Dan. Did somebody in one of those bands put that comp together, or who organized that?
Capture Tracks.
So the owner of Capture Tracks put it together.
I think so. Yeah, as far as I know. Yeah. Because they were going to do like they're going to do like kind of a side label series called Excavations, like an archival series.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever did any more for the Excavations thing, but it's a good start.
Yeah, no, very. I mean, it's better to have that comp than to have to track down a bunch of 7 inches or reissue a bunch of 7 inches.
I'm a big fan of those kind of compilations, like
there's a decent amount of the bands that were on Homestead. So there's probably a good amount of copies of their records around.
Yeah.
But I should check back now because it's been a couple of years, because right after this comp came out, a lot of these bands' records, like the prices soared.
Yeah. Homestead is definitely one of those labels where I'll take a chance on it. They were a great label.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they were all over the place too. Like, they put out a couple Naked Reagan records.
Yeah.
They're just jangly pop, college rock, and punk, and yeah, it's just, I feel like you can't go wrong with that label.
They put out like
right?
Squirrel Bait records too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Gigi.
Okay. Greatest
All right.
guy of all.
The time has come. The last pick of the day is.
All right, here we go. So
shoulders.
I kind of ruined it. I should have stayed with older records too. I threw in that Ugly, which is a release of this year, but I should have stayed with old stuff. But again, these are kind of records I've been kind of listening to lately. Oh, cheers, by the way, since the last one.
Cheers.
Salud.
Cheers.
This is a pretty popular band now, but I like this because it's a collection of their early singles and it does sound a little different than the very famous El Acto, Parálisis Permanente from Spain.
Wow.
So this was put out shortly, like 2 years after the singer Eduardo's death. But they're really famous for a record called El Acto, which is heavy keyboard, heavy goth. They were huge Susie and the Banshees and fans of kind of like that dark punk aesthetic. UKDK was another band they were really huge into. This is the insert. You can kind of tell what they were like or into. But this particular comp is sort of like all the early singles that they put out, sort of compiled, and a couple of these songs wound up on their only LP. But by then they were like very synth heavy and going more towards a goth sound, goth punk. But this record, this particular record, still just had a heavier punk sound to it, dark punk, but yeah, it's kind of like I feel like in the 2000s, this band made a huge comeback with a lot of people in the punk scene were started listening to Parálisis Permanente again, and half of these members were in a huge band called Alaska and Pegamoides, who then turned into Alaska Dinarama, who are massive in Latin America and in Spain and Spanish-speaking countries all around the world because they're huge hits. But this was kind of always their punk band, their punk side project. And yeah, it's a great record. It's just if you're a fan of like darker punk, like that again, like I'm a big sucker for that era where it's not quite goth yet, it's still punk, and it's writing kind of flirting with goth music, but it's still punk.
Yeah.
Ooh, Paco from La Vida es He's always like trying to turn me on to like this older Spanish stuff that he hasn't recommended me that one. So that's another great one to go on the list. Yeah, there's so much of it as well. I'm constantly amazed like how much stuff was coming out of Spain in that time period. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just that after the fall of Franco, it's just the floodgates of art, and this band was one of those bands that was also intertwined with Almodovar, the famous film director. He would, they were part of the same scene. A lot of bands would collaborate and do music. Some of them acted in his early movies. So it just, a lot of these people were painters, poets, musicians. Just creativity had been stunted, and these kids were just ready to explode. And when Franco left, it was just this boom of what they call La Onda, the wave in Madrid, in Barcelona, and all across Spain for that matter. And the repercussions are still here. I mean, there's a lot of bands now that still trying to sound and play like Parálisis Permanente.
Right. Wow.
Some do it really well, some do it really bad.
That just like that Fuera de Sector record that came out on La Vida, like in the kind of write about that, they referenced a bunch of other like old Spanish bands that I hadn't heard of before, and so you go back and listen to those bands as well.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me, like that era of Spain. It's amazing.
Yeah, there was I remember once we were playing a show at Rancho, and we were asking, I can't remember what her name was, but one of the people who lived there, we're asking like, oh, you book a show. What band are you in? I was like, well, the only thing I'm doing right now is a Paralysis Permanente cover band. Like, shit, you want to play? We'll get into that, yeah.
Wow. All right. It's been a great show, as always.
Yeah.
Let me announce next week's show, The King of Chicago, Artie White. It's coming back on. And Tony Retman and Michael is coming on next week. Friday, September. Well, it's going to be September next week. God, it's already September. Friday, September 6th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Mountain Time, 8 p.m.
Yep.
There you go. I'm learning all the time zones as we go along. There you go. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We're probably going to stick around for a little bit and have a chat after the show. See you all next week. Until next time, stay healthy and stay